I really appreciated that. In fact, shout out to my dad. One of the best things he told me, and I don't know if I would share this with kids, but he always told me there's someone better than you. And for me, I was like, you know what? That could be, hey, why'd you say that? That could be an argument, but I'm like, yeah, it makes me work harder.
When your back's up against the wall, just know you got a place to stay. I know sometimes it gets hard, but all you gotta have is faith. If you can rise to it, you can rise through it. If you can rise to it, you can rise through it.
Hey, what's going on, family, and welcome to another edition of the Rise to It podcast, your home for personal and professional development. My name is Jonathan Hernandez, a.k.a. the letter H, and with us today, we got our boys, Mr. DJ Sal Cortez, Mr. Andre Covington, Mr. Frankie Leal. What's going on, boys? What's going on? Family, real quick, we got to get through this big-time news. The County of San Diego, SD, the big bad SD, Proclamation Day, October 5th, is officially Erica Alfaro Day. So we gotta give a shout out to Erica. Man, she's been all over the country, man. She's keeping us busy, spreading all that positivity, motivation. Her story, if you have not checked that out, check it out definitely. It is really inspirational. So really proud of Erica Alfaro doing her thing. We got lots of dates rolling in to 2024 and beyond. But family, we got a lot of dates rolling into 2024, including the Parlier Unified School District Tour. We are extremely blessed for them to bless us with the opportunity to talk to all their students in the entire district. Now, Sal, Dre, I know you guys hit the first event. This is going all the way into almost the new year, right?
Wow,
so we're starting in October. We're going to be ending in December. But you guys were at Ben Benavides. Sal, first, man, like, how did that event go? I saw the pictures. It looked wild in a good way.
Yeah, my words and the pictures don't explain the actual electricity that was in the air at the event. Those kids were awesome, man. It actually, the school, you can always tell the school's culture, especially early in the morning on a Friday, right? Yes. The Friday may have been a bonus for them. Hey, it's Friday, we're done, right? But when I pulled up, the PE guy rolled out that Costco speaker, right, and hooked up his thing, and he had like merengue playing even before I started playing. Okay. Like, that was the vibe, and they're all pulling up. The kids got there, and anyhow, once we got closer to the actual program, they had all the students come out. They brought their own chairs out, filled up that whole little what they call it, amphitheater. It's like a little mini outdoor amphitheater where we were set up. And you could feel it, man. The kids were really into it. And at first, they all sat down, and the teachers, when you see good kids, they just kind of mind them manners or whatnot, but you could just feel it. So all the kids filled up the space, and they sat down, and they were quiet. So I'm like, I wonder how this is going to go. Got out there, cracked the microphone, and the response, right, from the kids was ear-deafening. You know when it gets so loud, it pierces? It was like that. Same. So they had probably 300, what'd you say, Dre? About 300 kids out there? Yeah, man, and once we got rolling and just kind of gave them the little shout-out, let them know what we were doing, and turned it over to Gus, who did some activities to kind of really get it going, dude, it was fire. It was fire. We needed a fire truck to put that out. I'm serious.
We'll definitely shout out our boy Gus in just a bit.
Yes.
But Dre, I know you talked about the little ones. Now, they were mixed in with the 6th and 5th grade, but there were some little ones going on in there. But they stole the show from what I understand at that particular school. Talk to us. How'd it go?
Very electrifying when we came out. You could see them. They were already dancing, like Sal said, pre-speech and program. And they seemed like they were ready for something different. They were excited, man. They didn't really know what was coming, but they were excited about the production, because when Rise to It shows up, we got the banners, we got the speakers, we got the DJs mixing. So it seems like it's something. There's something about production. Right. You see that in acts when you go to a concert. If you see the black curtain, it's gonna be a dead show, dude. Just gonna be three dudes walking back and forth trying to get you hyped. But when you see pyrotechs and you see big screens, and this is about to be a show, because the production, they put money into the actual event, and that's what we bring to it. So, and I think they could sense that, Because when I came out, and Gus did a great job of setting it up. When I came out, man, they went crazy, and it's like, and I was able to let that energy just kind of engulf me, and then give it back to them. So, man, I got to tell you, it was one of the better moments that I had, going to an early school situation.
Now, what time exactly was that starting time for this one?
8:30.
Yeah, 8:30.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a lot we squeezed into a 1 hour event, man. It was awesome. The every second of that 1 hour, I think we even went a little bit over. It was just too much content to pack in that 1 hour, man. We could have easily gone 2 hours there.
Excellent.
Think about it. Like when I pulled up and I got there a little early. Like the kids were literally just getting to school. Like parents were parking next to me, getting out and running their kids. I just kind of go over my notes and have a little cup of coffee, just getting ready. And man, I was like, wow, they're just getting here. So they really literally went into their classroom.
Got a chair.
They took roll. They had some announcements. Some of the kids read the announcements, and they did, I think, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is really...
And then they came out.
Yeah, that was. I'm glad you mentioned that. When I heard that, I was like, man, when was the last time I heard this in a school, right?
Well, we normally don't get there that early.
Right. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying I can't
Yes.
remember the last time I heard that at a school.
They have the old school bulletin where they're giving the lunch.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That is some early
So it
stuff.
was. It took me back a little bit too. I know how you felt. I was like, wow, this. I stopped, man, and got in position. Like, Pledge allegiance to the flag. So, but yeah, I think the atmosphere was good. You had the younger kids, and I saw the older kids a little more reserved. They were kind of a little back, more laid back, kind of like, yeah. But I think once I started, telling my story and talking about,
Definitely.
My childhood and childhood friends, how it was important, to have a childhood friend. I have a friend, that I grew up with. He was 10, I was 12. We became roommates. Unfortunately, he passed away several years ago, but I'm still goddaughter to his firstborn, who I just had a conversation with because she was going through some stuff, and she called me, and she calls me dad. So I was like, I always tell her, I said, I'm your earthly father, and you have your heavenly father who looks down on you outside of God, of course, that is your dad. So, but I relish that role. So I told them how important that is to cherish those friendships and to build on them, because you never know down the road how that's going to be. That same guy that you used to run around with, I said, we talk about it and we laugh, all the things we did as kids. You have someone you can reflect on with, and that is just, you really have someone who can like verify what you did, because he knew me all the way through high school. Like I always used to say, hey man, tell him I used to get dunked. And he'd be like, oh, Dre used to get dunked on everybody. So I got like, see? I mean, telling my kids, see, I told you, so it was a good time, man, to see them really listen to it. And then to read back the comments that they really were engaged.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I want them to remember. Like I remember, like I told them when someone came to my school and spoke about traveling the world, that really mesmerized me. It's like, that's what I want to do one day. And it just resonated with me. And then later in life, that's something I wanted to do. And I have accomplished doing that. But it took one person to kind of light that fire for me. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Dre, I want to just give a shout out to all you guys because the happy birthday, man. I had a birthday a few days ago.
Yeah.
And I was at Dre's house, blessed to be there, and his beautiful wife, the whole family. They came out with a birthday waffle. Who does that, man,
Yeah,
for breakfast,
nice.
man? So I appreciate that. I appreciate
Well,
that.
shout out to Dre and shout out to John for their birthday
birthday.
celebrations.
Yeah. And Dre celebrated a birthday in October, baby, right?
I did, man. October
man.
3rd, man. I went and I told my wife, said, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to be around all my kids. So my oldest daughter is in Florida. So we flew out there and spent some time with her and hung out and got a chance to see, when you see your kids now as adults, and I remember walking to her apartment, and she's like showing me around. She's like, yeah, Dad, I got a 2-bedroom apartment because, in case you guys ever come out here, I got a spare room. And he's like, oh, this is my couch over here. This is my big screen television. I was like, what is that? Oh, I think it's 86 inch. I was like, this is my bedroom set. I was like, oh, this is nice. So I'm looking, I'm like, how much, me as a dad, like, how much does that cost? She's like, Dad, I don't know, a couple grand for that couch. I was like, couple grand? How much is that bedroom set? And a tear rolled up my eye because I didn't have to buy none of that. So,
There you go,
like,
yeah.
she's all on her own, and she's like handling it, and she's, now she's like, Dad, I'm looking into, investing in like maybe a condo or something.
Awesome.
That way, then I can get. I got so many friends out here where I work at, and they're always looking for space. I can just rent the rooms out, and they can almost pay. I was like, that's how your dad thinks. Yeah. I think the same way. I said, you know what, let's partner up. And so I got her now looking at property, and I said, I'll walk you through the steps on how, make your first purchase. And that way you can, from there, you can continue to go. But it was good to be around my kids for my birthday, man. And just, and then, be around friends. And when I came back and everyone wished me happy birthday, it was a good time. You know how it is to be around friends. And then, you left my house and went to another celebration. You just making the rounds, man. Like, all right, Dre, I got to go. I'm popular, baby. I got to make my rounds.
No, I appreciate the hospitality, man. That was
a good time.
I don't know about Eli with the Kansas City Chiefs hat, though. We got to talk about that later for sure, man. We got to talk about that. But he's picking a winning team.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Smart kid.
For sure. And Dre, you brought up something right now, and I was kind of tying that in with our theme of context. And so you were talking about music, and if you just see a black curtain, for me, I look at that as well. Like for me, I'm a music lover. And so when artists come out, I am so intrigued with how they're going to come out. Like I want that introduction, like to hype me up. Daddy Yankee was one of the better ones that I've seen. My man, Christian music, Toby Mac is one of the better ones that when he comes out, it's like a whole theme. Of course, I haven't been to her concert yet. I heard Beyonce's on another level when she comes out on stage.
Production is, But Taylor Swift also, they spend millions on production.
Yeah. And so it's not just the singing, it's really giving you an experience. And so for us, we really pay closely attention to the context of an event, of a speaker, of any business deal. We're going to be like, okay, let me look at the ins and outs. Does this make sense? And so today's episode is going to be a little bit different because we're actually going to be talking about money. And so a lot of people get uncomfortable with that, and I know a lot of minorities studies show that we just don't talk about our emotions, right? Mental health, but also money, because we were also brought up in an environment, hey, be humble. And I believe everybody here is, but also at the same time, what's the best decision for me and my family, for me and my future? Yeah. And so I always want to make sure that when I'm educating students that I give them that knowledge of these are the facts, do what you will with them. But if you're going to go on that lane, perhaps you should look in something over here or something over there and maybe take care of your mom and your father, if they really mean a lot to you. And I know that a lot of the families, they do. But one of the just common things that I get or I hear every single day, and it's usually from people outside of education, sometimes in education. And my wife hears this a lot too, is teachers don't make a lot of money. Like, oh man, like poor teachers, God bless them. They don't make a lot. And so for me, usually if I don't know somebody, I'm not going to say anything. But if I do know them, I probably will say something and then be like, you know what? Like, that's true on many levels, but in different districts, they pay differently. And so my wife, she started off with her district. She started off with the first couple of years of teaching, but then there was an opportunity that was $15,000 more just by going 10 minutes across, just by her doing the research. And then, of course, she got her master's degree, and I'm really proud of her. But she's making over six figures right now as a third grade teacher. And I don't think a lot of people are educated in that sector of like, whoa, you teach third grade? That's not supposed to happen.
Right.
But again, it's the research. It's the context that she actually like, I could do this over there. It's 10 minutes away. It's kind of my demographic. It has the whole package. Yeah, let's do that. And so even community college professors, if you guys, this is all public information, by the way, too. And that's why I tell my students, I go, instead of being on TikTok, take 5 to 10 minutes, look at the major in which you're going in, ballpark figure you could get in 5-10 minutes. My information, Frankie, just because we're public sector, anybody could look that up at any time. So really the context of any conversation. And Sal, I noticed that early on when we started rocking and rolling together, because you've been our A1 since day one. This dude, I don't know if I guys told you, on the interview, he came in with the binder. Like, it was a full-on interview.
I love that you bring this up.
It was a full-on interview. Like,
I had to button up the top button and everything.
Do you have a tie on too or no?
I don't know. You might have, but he came in with a
borrowed
full-on
a sports
binder.
coat from my dad, like, for real.
It wasn't tailored. No tailored right there, but it was just so impressive because we were looking at the context of like, this dude, it's a wrap. As soon as he interviewed, it was like, okay, we got 4 more, but where are we going to eat after this? It was done. And, the context of who he is, what he's proven with his resume, all the credibility that he has, we're looking at not just a DJ, because we could get those. I probably got 3 down my block, but a professional, somebody that's business oriented, business mindset. And so kicking off the conversation with context, it could be pay, it could be that we'll talk about definitely some speakers, some comedians, photography. We want to really get into the heart of that. But Sal, I know that we were having a conversation about an event. recently.
That happened sometime.
Yeah, it happened sometime.
Yeah.
Sometime somewhere. Yeah.
And it didn't hit my guy because he's a critical thinker, and that's what I think context is. And just to be very precise, let me check this out. The definition for those of you listening on the audio: context is the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea, and in terms of which it can be fully understood and assessed. So when I get with Sal or any of you guys, like, we really assess from point A to point Z, what is this the best decision? You know, can we bring somebody on for this particular event, for this age group, this demographic? We're always reading demographics. But there was one event, they hit you like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and woke you up, and you're like, yo, what happened? So talk about that, man.
and context is really everything, man. I know, I'll get into that right now. And I know you guys as teachers, right? You probably get a couple of students running up to you, this happened, and he said this, and he said that. Well, if you just jump to whoever was more, convincing, right? Without hearing what actually really happened, you're making a decision without context. You got to know before you go, or you make a decision.
Wait a minute. You said you got to, what did he say? You got to go before?
You got to know before you go make a decision.
I'm going to let that one slip. I'm not going to let that one slip.
I'm a poet, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah,
but getting to that event, I got to work an event for a healthcare system, and it was interesting to me. So I just remember sitting around and kind of looking, and something just didn't feel right to me. And I just provided some production services, right? So I got to actually sit back and just be a fly on the wall, because I didn't have to sit there and think of a song to play every 45 seconds. So I was just kind of sitting there and observing and people watching. And it was this thing that was put on for a community by a healthcare system to encourage, and the tagline has always been health and activity and be active and all these different things. And when I left that event, it just didn't feel right? So everything went well, the production-wise. Went to bed, and for some reason at 4 a.m, my eyes popped open, and I thought, what the heck? It was a healthcare system, but all the vendors that they brought out to celebrate with the community was every unhealthy choice you can think of, right?
Wow.
And it was free. So healthcare, I'm doing the air quotes, company was providing churros, ice cream, funnel cakes, kettle corn.
You didn't invite me, bro. You didn't even invite me.
For free. Oh, wow. Like an all-you-can-eat smorgasbord of
what you want.
Empty carbs and sugar, snow cones. I mean, you name it. Everything negative for your body. Now, don't get me wrong. All those things are amazing in the right place, but in this context of healthy lifestyle, we're a healthcare company. We're here to make you healthy.
Health, yeah.
And I just thought to myself, I need to have a conversation with whoever's in charge about what this should probably look like, because it didn't feel right to me. And it's a healthcare company, and again, just people watching. There was just I saw a lot of overweight people going in on this stuff, and it's just, to me, it didn't sit right as far as, if this was a junk food fest, well, hell yeah, let's enjoy it. Right.
Yeah.
But if this was a kind of a healthy thing, it just didn't make sense. Yeah. So the context on that is what woke me up at 3 a.m.
Was the date 420? Just checking. No. That would put it into context.
Right. There you go. Nope. This was just a random, let's, hang out with all of your community, and I'm going to hook you up with this stuff.
But it wasn't like churros with the healthier version.
No.
Like, this one it's going to taste a little different, but it's a healthier
This was
side.
fried dough rolled in sugar.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be like maybe like a genius as far as like marketing goes too, because now these people are needing to go see a health
person, right? My heart rate's up. I don't know why, but
strategy.
But the part that I think really stuck to me was that some executives from the board and actual PhDs were out there speaking on behalf of the, again, healthcare system at this event where there was nothing healthy about it. So to me, it was weird. It was weird. It was like, I don't know. It almost felt politician-like, the bad ones.
Yeah, I feel you. Dre, I've never asked you this question. I know we talked about comedians. If you guys don't know, if you haven't seen Dre, I mean, you're living under a rock, but he does clean comedy as well as he does, some other types of comedy. Like, he's all around, like, just an all-star. I've asked you who your favorite comedian is, but I've never asked you who your favorite radio personality is, other than Greg. And then why? What's the context behind why you chose her or him as your favorite radio personality?
Well, the guy who really got me interested, I don't even know where he's at this particular time. I don't know if he's still doing radio, but it was this guy, his name was Super Snake. And he used to come on in the Bay Area, and I think it was KMEL. And I used to, when I was a letter carrier, I used to wear my headphones and I used to listen to him. And he would come on with this high energy, and he was like from 2 to 6, so I'd catch his last couple hours. And I was like, man, that guy is really, like, he was really intriguing. Like, he would say something, and like, I'll finish it after this song. And you would literally, normally I would just change the channel, but that was the first time ever I said, I'm not going to change the channel, because if I change the channel,
You're not going to find out.
I may come back too late and I might miss what he's going to say. So he kept me with that cliffhanger, which I try to do also on radio. It's a little tougher now, but I would try to do that because you want people to kind of hang around. So that guy was, I think, the guy who influenced me to where, like, man, maybe one day, I think that put the initial bug in my head that if I ever did do that, it seemed like that would be a fun job to do. And secondly, I would try to be entertaining the best way I can. So when I would go on comedy tours and travel around the country, I would go into radio stations just to promote it, but I would go in early and I would always I'd hang out. I'd say, hey guys, can you mind if I just stay in the studio? And they were like, oh yeah. And then I would put together little top 10 lists or do little bits, or hey, I do a good voice of such and such. And they'd be like, really? All right. And then they would let me do the voice, but they wouldn't say who I was because I'm a comedian performing that way. And it just worked out. It made me even want to do it even more. But Super Snake would be guy who, again, I don't know if this guy moved to because one day I turned radio, he was gone, and so he probably took a higher position because he was doing afternoons, and the goal is to get to mornings because that's when you really make the most money. So he probably took a morning position somewhere else, and they said, well, you can't come on with Snooper Snake, so they gave him another name. So I don't know what happened to this guy, but he was really good.
What was the market? Because I know you've lived everywhere too, man. So was this in the Bay Area?
This was in San Jose. I live in San Jose, but he was out of the Bay, so I listened to him in that area.
I'm gonna Hey Siri Super Snake later.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
was coming. He was Super Snake. I was like, who is this dude? But he was really intriguing.
Even the branding, the way you said that right there.
Yeah.
Like that's all branding right there.
Oh yeah, he definitely did that. And he had a thing with the ladies. He was like, he really had them calling in a lot. So yeah, certain guys, man. And there was a guy also out of LA. His name was Theo. He came on, and he had like a voice.
Yeah. What was funny is I used to listen to Theo back in the day. Hey, welcome to
Yeah.
was it 92.3 The Beat?
And he was Asian.
Yeah.
But he had this deep. Everybody thought he was a brother for a long time.
Whatever happened to Theo? I got to look him up too.
Yeah.
Theo was fire.
Yeah, he came out and he took off. So that was another, and I saw him become a celebrity. Like, I was always intrigued with celebrities. I saw him become a radio celebrity because he would go. I was at a club in L.A. They said, Theo's in the house, and the girls went crazy. They started to scream. I was like, he's a radio dude. Like, we're TV people. Like we're over here. But I remember him getting like the star treatment, and we had been on HBO, and we were just getting okay treatment, but he was getting the star treatment.
Yeah, back in the day when people had pagers, Theo would advertise on the radio on his marketing that he would do your voicemail. So if you called a number or something, he would be, hey, this is Theo.
Yeah.
You're calling so-and-so's phone or whatever.
legit.
Yeah.
Where would you hear Theo? Because like when I heard him, I was in LA at the time.
Yeah, I was in LA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes
I was
sense.
in
Okay.
LA for a few
Yeah.
years.
So like 1999, 2000.
Yes,
around
exactly.
that time, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's when I would hear him too, like on the radio. And
Yeah.
he had that soothing voice, and
Yeah, and then I saw him. He got a guest role on Brandy, the television show. And I was like,
nice.
this dude is now getting on. So I was really intrigued by that. I was like, wait a minute. It's been some guys in radio who, like back in the day, it was Rick Chase, West Side of the Peace out of the Bay Area, another guy. And it was some early morning guys who I kind of liked too. But I always just didn't think it was going to be cut out for me because of the getting up early. As a comedian, I'm used to getting up at the crack of noon, and all of a sudden I got to get up at 5 o'clock,
That's context
4:30.
right there, for
Yeah,
sure,
man, it
for
just
sure.
makes you really wonder, am I capable of doing this? Because I'm not used to it, but I got used to it.
I've always heard you like in the mornings. Did you ever do like middays or night
No.
times? You always did morning, huh?
which is a rarity. Normally, like look at my partner Greg. He started overnights, like from midnight to like 5 a.m.
And then he would do like the 5 p.m., like the drive at home.
Yeah, then he did. And he moved to like afternoons. He was 2 to 6. He did that for a lot of years. And then from 2 to 6, he came down to mornings when my original partner quit.
Was
And
that
then-
Mike?
That's Mikey on the mic.
I remember
yeah.
that. I remember your show with him.
Another guy who influenced me because he was the guy who really introduced me to theater of the mind. He goes, radio is theater of the mind, man. If you're talking about paper, pick up some paper and crumble it in front of the mic when you talk. He was really good, but he just, I don't know if he was totally happy with life. So when you're not happy with life, it will bleed over into your career. You know, cause you unhappiness everywhere. And I just never thought he really grasped where he was at. It was funny how he quit too. And if he's ever watching this, I hope he don't get mad at me. We were going to Hawaii. They had picked several, you know, it was probably about 30 radio stations from around the country were hand selected. If you're the top station in your market, top morning show, they flew you to Hawaii for the premiere of Pearl Harbor. The Ben Affleck movie that came. It was a huge movie when it came out. And we went to Hawaii, all expenses paid. And they even gave you a per diem of like $400 a day. They gave you like cash every day. You'd be an envelope. You go pick it up and you use it whatever you want to go eat offside the restaurants. We had 4 restaurants we could go to for free outside your per diem. You could just, so I ate there every day. I was pocketing that money every day. I'm like, I'm seeing how much I can take home. And then we would do our show on, they had this aircraft carrier, the one that's like docked right there. We did our show on top of an aircraft carrier, our morning show.
That's nice.
But when we're flying to Hawaii, I'm sitting in with Mikey, and he turns to me and goes, yeah, they should be getting my resignation right about now.
No.
He quit as we're taking off.
No.
I've been in radio at that point, not even a year. So when we landed in Hawaii, I know this is a little bit, this is put it in context because the context of the whole thing is the happiness of where you at and what you bring to the table. So when we landed, we had like a bunch of messages. My hotel light was blinking red, and that was the program director and the general manager. They said, hey, we just got Mikey's resignation. He just quit. Are you quitting too? I was like, no, I really want to work here. They said, good, you're there. I said, well, what do you want us to do? He goes, just enjoy the vacation. Because we were supposed to do a show every day live and send it back. But he said, don't even worry about it. Don't even do it. Just enjoy it. It's just a free trip. Take some pictures. We'll put up on our social media and call it a day, or website or whatever.
Website, maybe.
Yeah, website. It wasn't social media. So put up on our website. But what I did was I said, hey, I want to go over there. I want to try to do a show. No experience, but the context of the matter is I wanted to show them that I was capable of jumping in there even without him. That I want you guys to keep me, not to fire me when I get back. So I went over there and did the show by myself. And I interviewed Ben Affleck and Jerry Bruckheimer and all the big people. And we had really good interviews. And I sent the interviews back, and they actually played them on the air. So that's how my radio career continued, because right there was a moment for them to fire that morning show and bring in a whole new. But they brought Greg down from afternoon, and they became Greg and Dre, the original Juice Crew. And that's how that happened.
Wow. Wow.
Dang.
Now, Frankie, I know you have a story that we met through mutual friends, but we really kind of clicked when you were doing your magazine called Traffic Magazine, correct? In
Right,
Reedley?
right.
And so I know we're having a conversation. We've always kind of talked about Traffic Magazine because I was always a big fan of that, highlighting the community of Reedley, California. Talk about that, because you guys just didn't put a magazine out. You and Celeste really envisioned something that was going to highlight the community first and foremost. So talk about that.
Yeah, so we created Traffic Magazine, and that was like a city lifestyle publication, and it was a free magazine, and we made our money based off advertisers, right? So what I would do is when I would go to the pictures, I would find out like what they did, you know. So like if I'm doing an article on someone who makes honey, I would just find out how they make the honey, where they make the honey, what the packaging looks like, and I would do all my research. So I would go take pictures of all that. So like the whole idea behind it was to tell a story with my pictures, because I could easily have told this honey maker to come to the studio, and I could have shot him in a studio on a black background, on a white background, but I wasn't really going to tell a story, right? So with photojournalism, you're trying to tell a story through your pictures. So we would do a lot of that for our publication, and I think that's what kind of like branded as like, yeah, just even understanding the context and helps me set me apart from my competition, right? So like knowing how my other photographers shoot in the valley. Okay, I understand that. I understand it works. So how could I set myself apart? Buying more lights, trying different things, like things that are not custom here in the valley, right? So I think I became that studio portraiture photographer where I got that signature look of like the 3 lights with the 2 lights in the back, like where the client is glowing, you know, with the back lighting and the front lighting and stuff like that.
You stood out. You were a little different, you know, it's a different look. That's always important.
Yeah, and that was always the goal. The goal is to give it that big city, that big celebrity photographer here, like in the local valley. And it was a good publication. Like everything was high end, and that was another thing about it like everything was just top notch, professional. But going back, it was just understanding like the client and putting something out that was different, you know. And I think that's what really set us apart from like other newspapers or publications.
So when you're the professor, I mean, when you're saying setting apart, and then we're tying in this context, what I noticed when I saw Traffic Magazine, and this was before, because you guys actually featured our club. I was teaching part-time at Reedley College. We brought Dre for a comedy show. I still remember that,
Was
man.
that the one with Darren Carter? Or no?
There was Darren Carter, but Dre did one just by himself, and he did like an hour 45. Rest in peace, Cece. She was there, and she's like, this boy funny, man. 'Cause she's from New Orleans. She has like accent, and she's 64 years young, man, taking my class in college. But she took a shine at Dre. She's like, that boy funny, man. Like,
that was good times.
killed it, man. And so what I noticed was the professional photography. Everything just looked professional. It did look like it was something outside from like LA or the Bay Area for sure.
Yeah, we did. When we covered your event, we even brought out like what you do with Rise to It, the professional backdrops and the lighting, and like a mobile photo studio, if you will. And I think we shot all the comedians, and some of these comedians were like have never been shot under such lighting, right? Like, ooh, like I'm not a professional, or I'm not a big time comic, I'm just a local comic, but we treated them professionally and to make those images, right, for the publication. So yeah, that definitely set us apart for sure.
It's noticing those things, I think, through context of what works, but also really critiquing ourselves and being self-aware of what doesn't. And so I'm going to go back and kind of pick on myself a little bit, like as far as like a keynote speaker, when that national attention hit and school started calling me up, I was saying yes to everything. The quality of my presentations wasn't the same for this simple reason. I was doing high school. I was doing middle school. So I used to think I could kill everything. I was like, yeah, if I'm going to do an elementary, I could go in there. Not realizing I was getting my attention for the reason that I teach college. And so when I started teaching around the valley, and still to this day, one of my mentors, he's so direct that it rubs people the wrong way, except for me. Like, I grew up with that tough love. Like, my dad in Little League, he would never tell me a good game. He'd be like, we need to work on this. Like, at every single game.
Yeah.
If I tell that to other people, they're like, dang, John, like, that's kind of sad. You know, like, they're rubbing my shoulders and stuff. But I really appreciated that. In fact, shout out to my dad. One of the best things he told me, and I don't know if I would share this with the kids, but he always told me, there's someone better than you. And for me, I was like, you know what? That could be, hey, why'd you say that? That could be an argument, but I'm like, yeah, it makes me work harder for me. So maybe he tailored that message specifically for me. He knew I could take it, so I'm there. Whether it's baseball, I'm working on my curveball, whether it's basketball, whatever. And so one of my professor buddies, still to this day, that's just who he is. He's extremely direct. But I remember we're having a conversation, and he's extremely just soft-spoken also, which is kind of scary sometimes when he tells you stuff, because you're like, man, you sound kind of, mad right now. But I remember there's this one time where I did an engagement. He goes, how'd the event go? And this was before Rise to It. And I was like, it went okay. He goes, where'd you go speak at? And it was like a middle school in the Bay Area. And he goes, huh? He goes, so you're a national ranked middle school teacher now? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, dude, you're getting all the attention for teaching college. So now you're thinking that you're all that doing middle school? And I was like, wow. No context.
Right.
Just like that, that's the way his brain works. And I appreciate that so much. Because DJ Sal's like that also, too.
Oh, yeah.
He's the first person I go to. We and Drave talked about that, too.
Yeah,
We're very cordial with you. But with Sal, he'll critique things. I purposely asked JR on one of the more recent events, hey, how's my introduction? I think it was for Erica afar. I said, hey, how's my introduction? Even my introduction, I'm critiquing myself. Oh, it was great, H. It was cool. 3 feet away. Hey, Sal, how was it? oh, you could have done this. And I remember JR's face looking at you like, you're not supposed to say that, bro. Here's the thing, though. I appreciate.
No, I'm the same way.
I obsess over people like that. Just give it to me. If I have a moco out of my nose, a big old booger, I guarantee you there's going to be 2 classes where nobody doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be that one student, yo, H, that thing's big, man. You take that thing out.
You may want to get that out of there.
I want to get that out. So, again, it's that context, and I appreciate people like that. And then that's where, I mean, Gus Ramirez, man, shout out to him that came in. I kept hearing his name over and over and just murdered it with this event. And he's going to be on tour with us for the elementary schools. And I just kept hearing his name. This dude's a killer in elementary. Well, who am I to say that I'm going to step in for him?
Yeah,
He's the expert in that elementary, and that's when a lot of people need to understand we all have our own lanes, man, right?
Oh, yeah. Even for myself in business, right? So I used to take every single wedding event, right, without the context of who's the demo, who's going to be in the audience, right? So if I took a wedding and it was mixed Korean and Indian, right, East Indian, I can't go in there and do my best job because I don't know the culture. So the context would be finding somebody for them that would fit that event better. So, yeah, even like at the event, Gus really connected with them more so than I feel I would have personally with that same audience. And Dre mentioned it earlier with the students. So if you can imagine standing on the stage of a mini amphitheater, on the right side they had the third graders, and then the third, fourth, there was an aisle in the middle, and then the fifth and the sixth. The further you got closer to the third graders, the energy was just off the charts. Yeah. And the further you got to the left, it was kind of quiet because it's too cool for school kids, right? The ones that, I guess, what are they, 12 going on 13, puberty's hitting, they got to look cool.
25.
Yeah.
Let them tell it.
Yeah, so I did notice that energy change, but once Gus got in there and actually threw some Spanish inflection in there with them, I noticed that they came a little more on board. And they were buying in, and that opened them up. So that was like the hammer that cracked the nut. So when he set it up, Dre got in there. Now they were open to receive, and Dre just slam dunked the whole event, man.
Yeah, man, you gotta know the room, and the context is real good because I think for me, and you've said it a couple times during this podcast, like Dre, his comedy, he can work clean and he can also work adult comedy, you know, they call it blue. You know, it just depends on what's the production like, what is the theme of the show. I remember doing a show with Cat Williams, and of course it was going to be adult humor. And somebody had filmed some of it, and I remember this group wanted to hire me. A friend had told them about me, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we got this group. We got this showcase, but it's like, you know, it's some business people, it's some clergy, it's some church people. We just want a funny, clean comic." And he's like, "Oh my God, he can do it." And they went online and they saw a clip of me doing some adult show with with some profanity and stuff. And they was like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
No, we would never.
I could picture them clutching them pearls.
Oh, yeah. And they were literally upset with my friend for even suggesting that I do it. Fast forward about a year and a half later, I'm doing an event. I'm hosting, and I'm also doing some stand-up. And again, it was the same type of event. Those people were there. And I didn't know, unbeknownst to me. And I'm killing it. All clean comedy. And I think the mayor was there, the sheriff, retired Sheriff Mims was there, and I'm cracking jokes because I know them, and I'm cracking jokes. They're rolling, and afterwards, those people came up to me and apologized, and they were like, "We did not know. I say, well, you took it out of context. That was a Cat Williams show." That was another lane, and that was like, someone doing a movie, and then this guy, like, he's a killer, and then you're like, well, I can't hire him for my project. This is about, skating and church kids. Like, well, he was an actor. So I said, I'm a comedian who's also, I'm a chameleon. I can wear a lot of different hats. So, and they end up hiring me for an event, 6 months later. So sometimes it can work for you. Sometimes people will take it out of context, and then they will base their own opinion based on
one thing.
One thing, yeah.
Let's hold on to that, Dre, because you're saying that all kinds of the bigwigs, and a lot of the bigwigs, we all know them, right? But but they were judging you, right? They were judging you on a prior experience, not knowing that you had this skill and ability.
Well, not even an experience. They
that.
just probably watched a highlight of something, right?
Yeah,
And then said,
a
"What?"
minute,
Yeah.
a minute clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I feel that's the society, and I'm not going to say it, and I never want to generalize. I even catch myself with my students. I go, if I say all or everyone, correct me on that, because I want to get better at that, even in the context through that, because I can't speak for all people. I'm not everyone, right?
You can give your opinion on all people.
Yeah,
I'm okay
There
with
you go.
that.
Exactly.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for sure. You know, even the likes, like the views, like my kids, I want to say like the students, but their younger brothers and sisters. Now they're getting irritated too, because they're like, man, my little brother got like 50,000 likes, this many views on TikTok. And they're like, who cares? Right? It's like, did you get any money? Did you monetize that? No, it's just like, but that's like the new money for these little kids sometimes. You know,
Right.
they're like, oh, I got I don't know, you guys know Madi. All right, if you guys ever met my wife, Maribel, beautiful, right? She's very soft-spoken, the complete opposite of me, but nevertheless, she has a video on TikTok that hit 1 million views.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And she was like, yeah, this
nice.
thing hit like 1 million. And then we're just watching TV, and I'm like, well, so like, what does that mean? She's like, like, I mean, like we just watch TV.
Yeah.
But for other people, it's like, yo, like I got 1 million views, H, and I'm like, cool. Like, are you signing T-shirts? Are you doing like, that spike? Did you get a contract out of that? No. Well, then what are you doing? You know, that's the question I have. So that's like kind of like the new money that's not money.
Right.
It kind of it blows my mind too, because I'm reading the context. Like, what'd you do out of that? And so me and my other colleagues, we were talking, and I go, that's like going to Costco and going up to that sample booth. That's pretty good. Everyone just dips out. They don't actually buy the product.
Right.
So I was like, you mean to tell me you got 150,000 views and nobody bought your product? Like, what's going on? The context right there.
Or
right?
was there even a product to be sold? What was the context of it? Were you promoting something? Was there another video coming soon? Is there like part 2? Like you see some of them, they'll say part 2 coming, or, you know, click on this link to get more details. And if you're doing that, now you can monetize it that way, you know.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It even plays true in like media, like news outlets, right? If they give you a little sample of something, people will form an opinion without knowing exactly what's really going on. And to me, the context would be not, you gotta know, right? So you're not going to take, and then figuring out that different news agencies have different narratives. So you got to listen to both before you can make a decision on something. But that's true with literally everything, right? You got to know the backstory of whatever, or the information that's going to get you paid. Working in one school district, 10 minutes down the road, you could, if you didn't look up that, how could you be? The part that drives me crazy is people that would have gone through all the college, the schooling, the diplomas and everything else, right? All the time and money. And then just take the first thing without actually looking beyond that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
So, man, okay, all right. You got the whole thing going right now, right? So, in my doctoral program, you know, shout out to my cohort was legit. Like, we were like a family, and I love them to death, but there was that big piece of information that they were missing. Those of us that were in the community college sector already knew what was up. We already knew if we became Dr. So-and-so, there would be a significant increase in our pay. Our professor, she was retiring, Dr. Harris, man, she was an all-star, and she grilled me, man, every single day. I got nervous around her, man. She was like, yo, this is terrible, John. Like, go back to the drawing board. Love her to death, super direct. But so direct, towards the end of the semester, she just sat down. We didn't even really have class, and she goes, guys, I just want to know what you're going to do with this. If you do become a doctor, it's going to be hard work. But if you do become this, what are you going to do? And she goes, I just want to let you know that one of her colleagues that was teaching at Fresno City College, she goes, she's getting paid more than me. And there was a gasp in the room, like, oh my God, I didn't know that. And to me, it was one of that same reaction, Sal. I was like, you're in a doctoral program. How did you not know what the numbers were? 10 minutes. That's all it took.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so me and, Ricardo, he's now working with me, at my institution. But we looked at each other like, yeah, like these people didn't know. And so it's not just even the students, and I tell my students that it's not just y'all, it's everybody doing research and just spending a little bit of time digging that up, and maybe even if it's not all about money, y'all, if you're going to take a pay cut, but your schedule's better, your quality of life's better.
Yeah. Right. So it's not just
That's
the money.
Context.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
The
Exactly.
context is like,
what do you
yo,
want out of this in your life, right?
Exactly. Right. I mean, Dre, when I look at your schedule too, we have similar schedules, by the way, but yo, that is pretty sweet, man. Talk about, when you came, especially that station, I remember when we were rocking and rolling, you were at another station. When you went to another, man, this is a nice gig, Dre. Right? What you got? Like,
Yeah, the hours are compacted. I can use 6 to 10. So I have opportunity to do other things. Like today, I went in and took a couple meetings after I got off work for some other projects. I got this business. This business owner has multiple businesses. He goes, "Hey man, I've always admired you from afar, and I want to do this golf tournament." And someone mentioned your name, and they say you love to play golf. And he said, "We want you to be the face of this golf tournament." And I said, "Well, what are we? Is it the Andre Covington benefit?" I said, "What is put it in context for me. What is it that we're going to do?" He said, "It's for mental health. We want to bring awareness and raise money for." I said, "I'm in. I'm in." I mean, who doesn't know someone who's dealing with some mental health issues? Everyone.
That's right.
And I was like, man, and he goes, wow. And ever since then, we've had a couple meetings, and then the ball is rolling. We went and found a golf course we're going to be playing. We picked a date. It's going to be in early 2024, I think in May. More details to come on that one. But, man, we have so many ideas. But these are the times I'm able to do all these things even after I work my full-time job,
Air quotes, y'all. Air quotes.
Yeah, I can still go out and set other things up. Yeah. And, when I met with some people out at Fresno City College, they want to do a big comedy show next April to raise money for one of the sports program. I'm like, okay, and we want you to be the face of that. All right, let's do it. So those types of things, my job allows me that flexibility. And
beautiful. And
with Rise to It,
yeah.
And I toured in Parlier, we were able to sit down, and I came up with an idea. I said, hey, H, let's find a way to incorporate, because I've been doing this independent, and there's really been very little or no mention on the radio because, again, that's kind of plug-ola. I can't plug something. I put my job in jeopardy. Right. There's channels you have to go through, so we were able to sit down and come up with a reasonable budget. We worked something out where now the radio station can get a little bit of money. Like tomorrow we got the superintendent coming on to talk about it. So of Parlier, all these things are now possible because – the context was great. It was Parlier school system, the whole district. And my radio station was like, can I say, I'm like, yeah, we love to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. So nice. You put everything in context, man, it can really make the engine just really go. If it's all over the place, people get hesitant. They start pulling back, and all of a sudden you get people start going, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to be a part of that. So,
well, yeah, I mean, if you didn't ask what this was for and you jump on board and they plaster your picture on the Central Valley puppy kickers, yeah, you'd be in trouble.
I'm in trouble, yeah. So I definitely always be able to get the context of what the event is about or whatever it is you're doing. And if it's positive, if you align yourself with that, you'll be so surprised at how many people will jump on board.
All right, Dre. So he's talking about, man, you guys, it's fire right now. Fire. We're charging for this one. Venmo or Cash Out. Let's do that. Dre was talking about the radio station. You had to go in with a plan to tell them. You don't want to waste their time. Say, hey, I'm part of a motivational speaking group. So what, Dre? And that's valid for them to say, so what? You went in like, look, we're going to be blessing $1,000 at each campus that we're at.
Yeah.
Wow, you're doing the whole district? 1,000 at each one? Yeah, and we're going to go hit every school. Mm-hmm. And then they just had Jose Hernandez, the astronaut, in their district. Mm-hmm. They just did all kinds of grant money, and they're just kicking butt, right, in Parlier right now. And then this is another wave that they're having, and we're very blessed. But you came in with a plan. And so a lot of people, when they go, hey, man, put me on, and you probably get this, Dre, we probably hear the whole team, hey, give me a Rise to It, man. I could do like 10 minutes, 15. I'm like, bro, let's back up a little bit. Like, send me a video. Usually when I say send me a video, ghost, that's it.
Yeah,
right? Like, VH1, where are they now? But before that, it's usually like, okay, like, what do you have? Like, what are you going to talk about? Like, what's your story? But I'll be honest, like, usually it's somebody we have to have, like, if you look at our resumes, each one, forget about Eric, because, man, hers is off the chain. It's like a dissertation. Mm-hmm. But we all have really put in years, and that's what could get us on the stage. Now, to keep us on the stage is you got to bring that content.
So you got to earn it.
Yeah, and you got to earn that. And so a lot of people, I think, maybe they're like, oh, it's easy. I'll just get on there. I'll just contact a school. Good luck with that, buddy. Yeah. There's written things that I have to do that aren't the sexy things for us to actually – the stage part is fun. Oh, and as you know, you guys with contracts, contracts is boring stuff, and it's the majority, it's the beef of everything, it's the meat of everything, right?
So that's what triggers it.
Yeah, and Frankie, I know for you, I wanted to ask you this question because you're with students all the time, and so I do believe students nowadays are understanding that you can't just be book smart. And I always tell my students, combine the book smarts with the street smarts. I use my street smarts 95% of my day, 5% for sure book smarts, and that's imperative. What do you feel sticks out to you as an educator? When you see a student, you're like, they got it. She got it. He got it. They're going to be successful. What are those characteristics to you?
The students that stick out and that do well are the self-driven students. The students who learn the material in the classroom, then go do it on their own, right? Because we could teach them, I can teach them everything they need to know in Adobe Premiere, but once they leave my classroom, it's up to them, right? Anybody could go listen to a motivational speech and leave fired up. And the next day, what do? Right. And this was in the news, and I'm sure you guys heard about this, the Jay-Z lunch. Would you rather take $500,000 cash, or would you rather have dinner with Jay-Z? Right. And some people were saying, I'm taking the 500 G's. And some are saying, I'm taking his wisdom. So when they told Jay-Z the question, he said, well, first, he's genius for saying what he said. He said, I'm taking the money and then go buy all my music, and my blueprint is in all my music. So everything that you need to know is in my music, which is genius, because he's saying take the money and then still go buy my stuff, right?
Right.
But I went down the comments in social media, like I always do with these viral memes, and somebody said it best. They said, there's no secret sauce, right? So you meeting with Jay-Z and Jay-Z telling you the wisdom, there's no secret sauce because there's no shortcut, like too hard work. Like, you still got to get up the next day and go to work and go do it, And that's true. It doesn't matter what celebrity they are. They can be the president. They can be any speaker. They can be anybody.
There's no direct path.
You got to. No, your guys' careers, I can speak for all you guys. You can tell me exactly how you did it. Yeah. And I can take notes, right? That doesn't mean that I'm going to be where you guys are at.
It's like being a stand-up, right? There's no one way to become a stand-up.
It's so many different ways. And I saw that same meme, and I was reading it, but I also listened to Rick Ross. I don't know if you heard Rick Ross' statement.
What did he say?
Rick Ross said, I took a meeting with Jay-Z. In that meeting, I made $50 million off of the information he gave me.
Right.
He said, so I wouldn't take the $500,000. I would take the meeting. And I said, okay, if you put that in context, he's a rapper, and he also has music that's ready to go, that's good. Now he needs to figure out, how am I going to put it into distribution? How am I going to do it? So Jay-Z gave him game on how he could, be his own boss. Start his own label. All the stuff he didn't know, he was able to do all that. So he said, for me, I'm not taking the $500,000. I'm taking that meeting, because when I left out of there, I had information. And I was like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Coming from
it comes down to the individual's own horsepower.
Exactly.
Like, what are you going to do?
No,
what idea did you have? When you came in, like, if I had a hit song that I knew was fire, and I said, listen to this. And then I took dinner with Jay-Z, and he listened, he goes, whose is it? He goes, it's yours. I want you to do this song.
You put it out, yeah.
And you put it out, and he goes, okay. And he goes, but I want to produce it. This is how much you made off of that. You made more than $500,000. You know what I'm saying? So it would just depend on what you bringing to the table.
Right.
I would be someone who would go, okay, what idea do I have? How can I capitalize on this?
He went in with the plan.
Yeah. I'd have a plan. Or if I didn't have a plan, give me the money.
Give me the money.
I'm gonna go home and come up with a plan, but I'm gonna have 500.
Speaking of money, one thing we didn't even talk about was the $1,000 at Parlier. Yeah. And one of the coolest things, when I got there, I met with the principal, and I basically, the big check and all the fun stuff, right? And she goes, it was wild. She goes, the parents of the kids who won, because they split it up 4 ways. And she says some of the parents are going to be here today. They had some chairs set up for them. And she goes, it was so funny. She goes, when I called one of the parents, she could not understand why she was going, or why she was getting this money, this prize money. Yeah. And even when she got there, the lady was like, I don't understand what's going on. She could not process or comprehend it. And that was really cool. The other thing that, when it was a wrap, same person, the principal, I was talking to her, and she was like, she goes, I was explaining to her how exciting it was and how enthusiastic the kids were. And she's like, she goes, believe it or not, these kids, even though we live here in Central Valley and Fresno's, 20 minutes down the road, she goes, they don't get out of this town.
No.
So when you bring this energy to them, it was special.
It's a match made in heaven, for real. Like
Principal Rodriguez, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to her. She's definitely someone who has a vision.
Yeah, Raphael and Lydia too. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh,
on the
yeah.
morning show
Sure.
tomorrow. They
Yeah.
got some great energy, man, for sure.
For sure.
Oh, I love that.
Absolutely.
They were all about it, 110%, man.
Yeah, I mean, Dre was on. We all know Rick Meridian. Like I've known him since 2012. Jose fought at, West Hills more, so he was barely coming up. And I took a 20. This is like the first person I think him. There was maybe Eric Thomas. I think I got nervous with. When we met him in San Francisco, I already knew him though. But in Sacramento, when I met him for the first time, I was nervous. Rick was probably the second guy where you feel a different presence when you're around Rick. And for those people that know Rick, you know exactly what I mean. This dude is so knowledgeable, and his brain is going like a 3,000 miles per hour. In 25 minutes, he gave me information that I use for our Rise to It press kits and getting out in the schools, the districts, in 25 minutes. And so for me, again, that's a great teacher right there.
Oh,
That can
yeah.
just break it down. One of my favorite quotes of Dr. Albert Einstein is, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And so I use that in my contract for teaching, because I'm going to make things practical. Like when we're doing public speaking, how do you utilize this? You could just rap at some honeys in the classroom and build your confidence that way. Like, very practical. But the way he told me how to do a press kit, I was literally just taking notes. Still do that to this day. Ashley Garcia, I don't know if you guys remember her. She was at the conference at Fresno State. I wasn't in the conference, but Celeste and you were. Both of you guys said, I love the way she just broke it down. She's like, you guys want to become entrepreneurs? There's a lot of hands that were in the air. Okay, so check this. And she brought up Maria from Arizona State. I still keep in contact from her, Arizona State. Shout out to the Sun Devils. She's like, come up here. And this is what you guys told me. I guess she came up and she was like, so do you know like 10, 15 people you could get out of a park right now? Yeah. She goes, I heard you were like into like fitness. We'll get 10 to 15 people at a park, charging $15, do a workout with them for an hour. Dude, that's like 30 seconds right there that I did not get in business class
Right.
in a university.
That was like some Gary V
That's what I'm
stuff
saying.
right
Yeah,
there.
I'm like, the practicality.
Quick knowledge.
Context, man. Just breaking things down.
Well, even just being aware at whatever field they're going into, because 2013 was the first year that I saw a multi-op agency doing what I do now. And that's what lit a fire under me that's like, wow, this could be done. Right. And it wasn't that I just wasn't going in the direction of a multi-op operation until I seen that. And it was like, oh, I've got management skills, because that's what I did in my previous job. So it was like, if I apply it to my passion and my hobby and what I love to do, put those two things together, and that's how I ended up building up Bliss. But it was just, you don't know until you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But you got to be aware. You got to pay attention.
You said something key though too, Sal, was you said that you wanted to apply like all your management skills and hard work to your passion. It's all hard work. Like nothing's easy. Everything takes hours, right? Like hundreds of hours
facts.
to do.
But then again, it's the way I was looking at it with that for myself is, who are you giving these hours to, right? So when you're an entrepreneur, you're giving it to yourself and those that you support.
But the key thing was you applied all that to your passion, right? And that's what makes it easier, right? Of course, because we're going to put in this hard work. Let's do something that we enjoy. Let's do something that we like. And when you're doing something that you love, you're going to be good at it. And you're going to be great at it, you know? So I think that's key, is putting that work into something you love.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Believe me, and we all know this, the late nights where you're grinding, doing the not sexy work.
Yeah.
That's when you're really putting in the work.
Sure.
Paperwork.
Yeah. But it's all, the outcome though, when you do see that
Oh,
final
yeah.
product,
It's so worth it.
for sure, it's definitely worth it. Fellas, another edition of the Rise
Another
Radio.
one.
Another one, y'all. This one for sure, man. We got the Venmo, Cash App on the bottom. We got to get that for sure. But context, y'all. Make sure that you're critiquing. Context is real critical thinking. And
Let me
for me,
pause.
I like to,
I'm gonna pause you right
yeah,
there.
for sure.
For those that are just out there listening and they're like, okay, context. How do you get context?
Surround yourself with people like we have here at this table. Like the Rick Meridian, I was uncomfortable, to be honest with you, Rick. But I learned, again, going back to that 25-minute conversation really was the foundation of Rise to It, of how to do contracts, how to approach people, how to give a proper pitch. Like I'm on Shark Tank. These are the reasons why you need Rise to It rather than any other company. And so it takes that uncomfortable. And I would say just in any conversation, I tell my students every day, and they know this every single day, I go, man, shake some new hands. And you already know my phrase, the more hands you shake, the more opportunities you make, right?
Right.
And so I just tell them, man, get out of your comfort zone because book smart, everybody's becoming book smart in this classroom, the other classroom, other college, other university. You're going to have to separate yourself. And so get with other people that are better than you. Coming from my pops, you know, there's always someone better than you. Get with those people. And I think that if you could let your ego, you know, just slip a little bit and just understand that, yo, I really, really need to learn this stuff.
Right. Because you don't know everything, and there's always somebody better than you.
Man,
For sure.
Always, man. Family, thank you so much for joining us on another edition of the Rise to It podcast. 2 finger spread. Try your best to stay positive. And as always, if you can rise to it, you can rise through it. We'll catch you later.